Hi, I'm Joshua Kemble, and this is my Vloggins. So I am on my way to work, where I work as a full-time art director. I'm also a cartoonist, and I have a graphic novel called Two Stories, book one out from Marcosia Enterprises, which you can get a copy of at your local comic book shop just by asking them to order it through Ingram, or you can get it at a super discounted rate on Amazon, at least as currently as this video is filming. I'm not sure how long that sale is going to last, but it's been lasting for quite a while. And it's a 122-page, black and white, hand-lettered, hand-inked book, and it's at a really reasonable rate, like ridiculously reasonable. I think under $5 right now. So go pick one of those up. All right, so who am I? I've been an art director. Well, I've already kind of explained that, but I've been like a graphic designer and illustrator for well over 15 years professionally, and I've been drawing most of my life and designing for a good chunk of it too. So yeah, so that's basically it. And this is the vlog where I kind of talk about my progress on my personal projects. I talk about just general art advice and things like that can kind of help people as they see fit. And if this is a weird angle, it's because my little nubbin thing that holds the phone in place while I'm driving is something I need to eventually replace. But until then, we're just kind of working with it at whatever angle I can get it to film at. So yeah, so I'm on my way to work. I am feeling fairly optimistic about Two Stories book 2. I finished penciling page 7, I think, yesterday. So that leaves about 123 pages left to pencil. So I'll try to continue the progress on that, trying to kind of get as much done on the comic before Friday as possible, because come Friday I took the day off work, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we have to clear a good chunk of our house off of the floor so that we can get the flooring replaced. And that's going to be a little bit challenging because it's going to take me offline for about a week. I might maybe bring my computer wherever we're staying for that week, but in the interim, like I'm not going to have access to a lot of things like my guitars, just things around the house, and so that should be an interesting thing to juggle as well. But we'll figure it out and take it step by step. But I'm imagining I'm not going to have a ton of cartooning time. Although maybe I'll bring some pages to work on while I'm there. So yeah, so there's that. That's exciting times, and what we have to kind of look forward to in the coming week. Let's see, what else? Nothing much, just basically heading to work, and I have been on a kick where I've been watching the Seinfeld episodes that are on Netflix. I know that makes me sound like a boomer or something, but yeah, like I'm a big fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm and Larry David's writing. I just think it's really funny. There's something about awkward situational comedy that where you have like a main character and there's a little bit of catharsis in the sense of like they kind of create their own trouble that ends up just getting progressively worse and worse, and it's usually based on a character trying to do the right thing who just fumbles it, and then things perpetually explode into this crazy situational comedy. I like it a lot. I've been enjoying that, and I recommend it for just people to kind of pick up on writing. I noticed that like the first season they have, I don't know if it was a full season or if it was like a trial run, but it was only like 5 episodes, and I had forgotten like how they hadn't really found their bearings as a show. So there's a lot of things that get ironed out later on where they kind of find their voice. And I feel like that starts to happen like towards the end of like the first full season. So yeah, so like I've been running those in the background while penciling, which is an interesting thing because usually when I'm penciling, I have to like put on a podcast. I can't really do much other than just kind of focus on the penciling, and then maybe have some auditory stuff going on. But for some reason that show hasn't been distracting me, and I think it's because when I was a kid, well, a young teenager or whatever, that used to be running on TV, and so I'm familiar with a lot of the premises of the show, and so it doesn't distract me visually like a lot of TV shows to have it on. So that's been keeping me company late at night, because my schedule is basically like I work from 8:30 to 5 pretty consistently as an art director, and then when I'm off work, I commute for about the length of time that I film some of this in, which can range from like 40 minutes to an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours driving in traffic, and then I'll get home. So if you add the commute there and the commute back, I'm driving about 2 hours a day to 3 hours a day, and that takes out like 3 hours from my schedule. It has some benefits though, that I mention as well. One of the biggest benefits is it allows me to live in an area where on an artist's salary I can afford a house, which is crazy awesome. So that's a huge benefit, especially being a parent. I think that becomes more and more important to be able to live in a safe neighborhood, and hopefully before I leave this earth, being able to have something I can leave my son, like property, which I think is a huge game changer. Like I grew up kind of poor. My parents grew up kind of poor. Their parents grew up poor. And one thing that that is a huge game changer is property. And my family, up until my mom, never really owned property. And so there's been nothing passed down generationally, which again, I'm not complaining about. I'm just saying, like, when I think about the way the world is set up, at least our society as current, it seems like that's a huge differentiating factor in somebody's life, like whether they have to be concerned about their overhead. And I know there will still be property taxes and all that kind of fun stuff, but yeah, I do think like home ownership and or trying to own property is not a bad move financially, because yeah, I mean, it's a game changer if you can pay off the house and not lose it, in the process. So that's one benefit. One of the other benefits that I have is I have this nice window of time that almost can be like viewed as a blessing, where it's like I get to think and be in quiet for long periods of time. And so I can use that time to like listen to audiobooks, to digest like podcasts or other things, to watch vlogs like mine, and or to really assess, like, if I'm experiencing like an art problem with my comic, I can actually use this drive to kind of try to work out design problems or art problems constructively, to like try to figure out what the solution to those would be. But what I've been doing, what my aim is to try to get the book done in about a year. I had thought that I'd be done by the end of 2021, and my goal is, like, come hell or high water, really double down and try to finish the graphic novel by 2022, which is still 2 years, but in general, the amount of time it's taken me to do graphic novels, that would be much shorter than any graphic novel I've ever worked on takes. And I think it's possible, but it's going to be possible if I just plug away every opportunity I get for as long as I can on each page. And if I can kind of maintain a decent output of pencils and inks and kind of keep that process moving forward, make sure I'm not missing days, I should be able to hit that mark. This week, like I said, with the floor replacement and stuff like that, outer life events are going to happen. I do think I can kind of figure out a way to work on those pages while I'm not at my house. I think we're going to be staying with family, and which will be weird and uncomfortable and awkward, just because you get used to having your own place, and so like living with other people, when you don't particularly, even if you really like those people, especially as a parent, being in like a dependent situation, not the most fun thing, but again, all for good reasons. So yeah, so that's one thing that's on my mind. Where I'm at in my story is pretty exciting. I will say I've been enjoying the penciling process. I'm still working out some of the characters in the scene, and some of the pencils that I've been posting, if you're following me on like Instagram or Facebook, you'll see a little bit of my process, like step by step. But to kind of explain my process a little bit, I usually start with like roughs. In this case, I did it a little different than I've done comics in the past, where I roughed out the entire book with fairly tight pencils, which I thought would save me time in the long run, and like a little bit further developed pencils than what I would usually use for roughs, which are usually like equivalent to like a stick figure on a page. But in this case, I've roughed out the entire book, so I know what sequences I'm working on, and what I want to do is batch photo references, do as big of a scene as I can do for photo reference, and then from there go to I was gonna say, actually, before even getting to photo reference, I did all my layouts too in Adobe Illustrator, as well as like rough templates for my fonts in Adobe Illustrator. And so now I have like these blank panels. I have the whole thing sequenced, spell checked, ready to rock. So I've scripted it, I've done roughs, and for like, I think it clocks in at about 130, yeah, I think 130 is the page count. I can't remember, I'll have to check when I get home. So it clocks in at about that amount. So I did that amount of pages of panel layout and type. Then I do photo references. I take those photos and get people to pose, or like research and look up as much photo reference as possible. Then I do I ink my panel borders and my lettering, and so I hand ink all of that stuff. I've done that for about 10 pages, and then basically started penciling. So I am doing a little more overlap than I planned to. My goal initially was just ink all the panel borders, all the type, hit it all in one pass. But in retrospect, one of the issues is like you can't always, like every day after work, not everybody's down to just instantly drop everything and take photos and help and pose and stuff like that. So in the interim, in the times where I'm unable to work on the photo reference, I'm proceeding by moving forward on penciling different panels from using the photo references and the panel borders and all of that from stuff I've already gotten done. So that way I'm still making progress and things aren't halting anytime I can't make movement on one. And what'll happen this week, like if I'm unable to proceed forward, because once I'm done penciling these pages that I've already shot photo reference for, I would in theory really like to move on to the next set of photo references. But if that's not a possibility, what I can do too is I still have these pages to ink. So I think as long as I'm continually carving at it, this book will get done, and being able to do it in about a year should be slightly feasible from where I'm at. But it definitely, I doubt I'm going to be getting it done by the end of 2021. Although that would be incredible, I don't think that would be feasible. So yeah, so that's basically what I'm working on. It did get paused as well because of the special project that I talked about in my last Vloggins, which is, you know, like a book that will likely be released in 2022. So don't worry if you're a fan of my work or you like what I do. Understand, like, there will be a book out this year. It's not going to be 2 Stories Book 2, but keep your eyes and ears out. Make sure you're following me on social media, and you're subscribed, you've hit the bell, all that fun stuff. That way you'll get notified like the second I'm about to go live, do a live stream, and also be notified when I have a new book out that you can read. So yeah, so that's pretty exciting stuff. It's kind of a weird, interesting process, but I'm excited to kind of see where it all goes. And I think that other than that, I just need to kind of stick to the just keep moving, like be a shark. I forget who said that. I think it was Mike Emirates a long time ago. We had him on the Artcasters, and he had said that was advice that Gaz, who by the way is also a pretty rad dude, cool artist, I think just moved to SoCal. So actually at some point I need to hit up Gaz and see how far we are from each other, because it might be fun to just do a hangout or a meetup or something. Anyhow, regardless, I guess Gaz gave Mike some interesting advice, which was like, you need to just be a shark with art. If I'm misquoting it, and Gaz, you're watching, let me know. But I guess the idea is, like, as long as you're progressively moving forward, you're inevitably going to traverse some terrain and you're going to make progress. And I definitely have found that to be true. I mean, I feel very fortunate to have books coming out. It's very hard to get publishers interested. It's very hard to get books. Let's say you don't and you decide to kickstart, it's hard to get the Kickstarters to go through. It's a lot of work to get these things to actually come out, like after the process of making the thing. And so I feel very fortunate to be able to finish these things and be able to put them out. And my goal is to try to really up the ante of what I'm putting out. Like, I feel like 2 Stories Book 1 took a little bit longer than it should have to execute, although I'm really proud of the work. I feel like the other project that can't be named, equally, that was the project that I was working on. Well, I can't move. I was going to give away too much. I'll just say it was a project that I had worked on before 2 Stories. So it's technically like my one of my earlier works, and that took an equally long amount of time. In fact, even longer than 2 Stories, because it was my first time as a cartoonist really tackling a graphic novel, and my first time as a cartoonist tackling anything longer than like a short comic. So that's interesting too. So yeah, so anyhow, that's all kind of stuff that's on my mind. I don't really have like any profound insights today to share. I will say, I'm excited and feeling very invigorated about my art, and I'm trying to kind of pinpoint what it is that's lit my fire recently. And I think it comes down to having a win. Like, this secret project that I'm working on is a win, and every once in a while you really need to have like little wins that show that the investment of time that you're putting in is somehow, even in the slightest way, having a return. And I think there are ways to kind of help have wins as an artist. You know, to a lot of people, maybe what I'm talking about isn't a win. Well, honestly, it's hard to predict, right? Because you guys, I can't even talk about that project yet until it's official. But to me, it feels like a win, and it feels like a really good opportunity, and it feels like a culmination of a lot of hard work put into reality. Like, I talked about this yesterday on my Vloggins about like the idea of kind of foreseeing something that could be a dream, like dreaming up an idea, actualizing it by doing the work of back planning and all of that, and then seeing it come to fruition. There's one thing that I've found, because I'm not the best cartoonist. I definitely would say I'm probably a stronger writer and designer than I am a drawer. Although I'm really pretty good at like life drawing. Like if we were to sit down in a class and draw from life, or better yet, like paint from life, then we're talking something that I feel like I really have a gift for, like in art. But I'm a very slow artist and a meticulous artist, and I don't always, like, for the time I invest in art, I don't know if my art is like top tier. Like, it's pretty good, but it's like, I acknowledge I am not like one of the top. I'm not necessarily the best writer. The thing that's great about comics is like the two kind of combine. You can sort of make yourself better with the combination of visual and written. So if you're a type of person who you feel like words aren't enough to tell your story, or that visuals aren't enough to tell your story, the combination of words and visuals makes for like just a really cool thing. So anyhow, my point is, getting a win, like, it tends to kind of happen if you put in hard work, if you invest the time to improve your skills as an artist, if you trust the process, if you back plan, you dream, and then even if you move on from loss, like meaning maybe what you're working on that you've invested a ton of time in doesn't go anywhere, but you move on to the next project, having had done the best you could on the project prior. What's neat is you start collecting projects. I've talked to Jim Luhan about this recently too, and we were both finding it weird that this weird thing kind of happens. You start collecting work that you've done in the past, and then that work starts doing work as well. So it's sort of like equivalent to what happened to me with t-shirts, where initially when I got into the t-shirt design game, which was my career before where I work now as an art director, you know, it's a little disconcerting. I remember at the time I was working for like an educational publisher, and I didn't personally at the time feel fulfilled with the art I was doing. And so I started doing like t-shirt designs for Threadless, which at the time was like a huge design competition. Now it's more of like a print-on-demand type site, which is excellent. They have great quality, and I still love Threadless. But if you were around at this era, you'd know like Threadless was like getting a win on Threadless was a big deal. And I remember trying the first few designs and really struggling and getting frustrated, hitting a wall, and yet overcoming it, making a catalog of designs. And then I started getting wins of designs. And the neat thing was, even when I got wins, like maybe my ratio of win to design submitted was like 1 out of 30. But each time, what I started learning after I was in the game for a while was like, you still have now 29 designs that you can shop to other clients, other companies. So at the time, the competition thing was the game. So you'd filter through the competitions, and then you'd start pitching to clients after that. There was like a formula to it almost. But the formula wasn't much different than what I've experienced with comics or anything else, which is you definitely need to collect a back catalog of work. And once you have a back catalog of failures and successes, sometimes the back catalog of failures actually become later successes. And much like the t-shirt game, now you're talking about stuff like in t-shirts. The great thing about that is there are t-shirts I designed like 20 years ago that still make like passive income. They don't make a ton of passive income, not quite at the level that they were making passive income when I was actively promoting and pushing them. But still, to this day, like without me doing any legwork, I still get like this little residual income. Passively, like I didn't have to do much to receive that income. It's a reward for past work. I think that same thing starts happening with comics and with art in general. I think a lot of the times you're going to build up a catalog of art, and then you can use those past things that didn't succeed at the time to succeed now. And I don't know, it's a cool, weird thing, and I won't take luck out of the equation. I've been very fortunate in my life, but like to have had some successes. And I understand there are scenarios like the Van Gogh scenario where you have an artist who didn't see a ton of return or success in their lifetime, who was one of the best of all time. And I definitely can't rule that out as a possibility. But I think even in that case, to me, I think the art was worth the investment. And that back catalog did have a way of eventually, hopefully, being found. To me, some artists find that discouraging. To me, I find that very encouraging, because right now, if you're in the thick of it, and let's say you finished a project that you invested years into and it hasn't gone anywhere, keep trying with it to get whatever it is out, but also make the next thing in that interim. And who knows, like once you've made your next thing, you might have success with that. And let's say you do 10 graphic novels that like no one reads, 20 comics that no one reads. All it takes is to make one comic. It's kind of like YouTube, right? Where it's like it just takes that one viral video. Which, by the way, will never happen on my channel. I produce these way too like roughshod and on honestly, this is me utilizing my time that I can to create content and hopefully communicate to my community. But I don't think I'm investing the time that I would need to have a wildly successful YouTube channel. However, much like YouTube, like if you have like one giant massive hit video, that can actually be the make or break that starts getting your other videos views. Not always the case. It could also be a one-hit wonder kind of thing. But it's like, if you think about like Nirvana, the band, right? When they broke, right? It was helpful that, their first album was already out. So second album breaks, record sales, and suddenly that first album starts getting a massive boost in sales that I had never seen. Now, it didn't sell as well as like the big hit, but it still sold, and it like the rising tide of the one work rose all the ships that that band had built. I've seen that happen with musicians and cartoonists. So my point is, and I've experienced that. So not on a great degree, but to a mild extent in my lifetime, I have noticed this. So I'm trying to keep that in mind, and that has added fuel to what I'm working on now, because the more of these I make, as long as I'm investing the time to make them as good as I can, I'm pretty confident that each work that I finish will improve my chances for the next thing. And also build up a back catalog that when or if I have success with one project, it's going to roll down to all the other projects that I've completed. And honestly, to me, success as an artist is being able to create your art. Having the time to create your art, being able to create your art, and being able to make the time to create your art, and being able to make the art you want to make. And so to me, like, again, like the more of a catalog that I can build up, the better. And so I'm really trying to view it like that too, where it's like, hey, 2 Stories book 2 needs to get done. And right now, I'm going to focus on that with the knowledge that whatever, even if I get like, let's say I get a desire to like switch gears, work on an all ages book, or switch gears and work on something that's not slice of life. Regardless, I need to get 2 stories done, because 2 stories is an investment for whatever that future project is. Much like investing, which I'm not like a stock genius, but it's just something I've been thinking about. It's like you don't want to sell low and buy high. So if you're at a low, now's the time to invest, right? It's not necessarily the time to sell. If you're at a low, invest in your projects, invest in that time, and then when the market shifts, you're going to have these very valuable stocks that you can move around. Just something I've been thinking about. I didn't think I had much to talk about today. I hope I'm not being too like peppy and optimistic. But yeah, I feel like I've been on a pretty good string of events lately, and yeah, and I will say I am dying to be able to tell you guys about the project that I'm working on. I think some people who followed me for a while can probably guess what the project is, but I have to say, like, I struggle personally. I'm a very transparent person, and so I do struggle with sort of keeping good news buried in quiet. So anyhow, I hope you guys are all okay. I hope you're having a good time on your artistic journeys, and I hope you all have a lovely morning. If you watch this in the morning or listen to it on your commute, don't be watching YouTube videos on your drive. If you're watching this visually on your drive, that's a problem. If you're listening, awesome. And I hope I kept you company, and I hope this was interesting. And I'm gonna bail now. So anyhow, thanks. Like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, and also make sure you've picked up a copy of 2 Stories Book 1 from Marcosia Enterprises. You should be able to just search for Joshua Kemble 2 Stories. I think there's a link in the notes too. But like I said, it's a pretty low investment. You can get a 122 page graphic novel that I handwrite, hand letter, and hand ink handed to you for like a really ridiculously discounted cost, especially if you go to Amazon. And let's see, aside from that, what else? I think that's basically it. Like go pick up that book. It's about 5 or 6 years of my life. Why don't you check it out and see if it was worth the investment that I put into it? Will I get a good return? All right, guys. I hope you guys are all out there investing on your own projects, investing in, current. Even if the market's low right now for you, I hope that you're out there thinking about when the market is up for you, the emotional market or the success market, or however you want to view it. I hope you guys are ready to rock and roll and make it happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing our community and the awesome little bookshelf we're all going to have. And actually, that's something I think we should probably start thinking about more. Is like, are we going to be able to invest in our own little library as a community? Like, I want a library full of all of your work and my work and our group's work. So let's build that library. All right, guys. Corniness done. I'm out of here, and I will see you on the next Vloggins. Bye.